Okay, so let's start again with the meditation and motivation. Because there may be some noise, background noise. I'm in a room where below me there's all kinds of activities happening, so you may hear voices, but try to keep your mind concentrated on my voice and on the subject you're meditating on. So please relax the body. So make sure you're sitting comfortably. So whether you're sitting like on the floor at home with the legs crossed, or you're sitting on a chair. The main thing is to keep the back steady and like straight. Keep the shoulders relaxed. If you can, try to put the hands in your lap, the right hand resting on the left. And if you can, we try to then join the thumbs, the tips of thumbs together. It forms like a small circle, and you put that at the level of the navel. Rest your arms, relax your arms, relax the shoulders, relax the back. Keep the head balanced, which means it doesn't like lean too much forwards. It doesn't lean too far backwards. Again, keep your face relaxed, keep the jaws relaxed. Actually, what we can do is relax the whole body by starting from the crown of your head. You put your awareness, um, your mental factor awareness, you bring it to the top of your head and just begin to kind of sense just that area for the beginning. It may be cool, maybe warm. I come across the face now, the forehead, then go around the eyes and the jaws, and then the neck, throat area. Just feel that area, and then the shoulders, and now go down the back. Slowly go down the back. And down to the hips, where your body's now touching the cushion or chair. Again, you feel that contact area. Now slowly go down the legs. And down to the feet. So if you notice carefully, you can just concentrate all the different sensations in the feet, from the heels, the soles of the feet. You can even feel like a tingling sensation. Just become aware of all the sensations in the feet. Now coming back from the feet to the legs, to the ankles and the knees and the thighs, then coming to the front of the body. So you start with your stomach area, the diaphragm, the chest, Try, if you can, as you're breathing in and out, feel that sensation as you're breathing in. Imagine the air goes towards the stomach area, the abdomen, and inflates. And as you breathe out, the stomach flattens again. So try and feel that this long, deep breaths coming in and going out. And then go up to the chest area, go across the shoulders, coming down the arms, go to the hands. Again, we pay attention to the hands. As they rest on our laps, we feel the weight of our hands on our laps. Feel different sensations in the palms, in the fingers. And then coming back up from the hands, come up the arms again to the shoulders. Then feel the back of the neck, the back of the head, and go right to the top of the head again. And then spread the awareness to the whole body, stable, relaxed. And then from there, gently bring the awareness just to the breathing. So breathing naturally, normally. Breathing in, you can count 1. Breathing out, count 2. Breathing in, 3. Breathing out, 4. And we go on like that up to 10. Really keep your mind on the breath and the counting. If you get too distracted, too many thoughts come, you stop and you start again at 1. So be quite disciplined. We do a few rounds of that. And slowly finish that round of counting you're doing up to 10. And now we do the analytical part of the meditation. So we can think of the subjects we've already listened to about the mind, how our mind is different from our physical body, how we have the power to make ourselves well, happy, and we also have the power to make ourselves sick and unhappy, depending on the mind. We can see we start to think negatively about a situation, about a person, are looking at their faults, concentrating on them. Our minds become upset, unstable, unhappy, irritation, frustration increases, the anger increases, and we see things completely differently just by our mind seeing the faults and exaggerating those faults, whatever it is in the place we're living in, the situation, the people. We can see also, depending on our mind, the same situation, the same people. If you just look at their qualities, look at what's beneficial in them, we actually increase and are able to bear up that situation or that person. So our real happiness is coming from inside. It's not the objects, the people, or the situations. They're more like the conditions that can perhaps trigger pleasurable feelings in us, or unpleasant feelings. But actually, the real happiness comes from our minds. So the second subject we covered in this course was how to meditate. So we have to then train to control this mind of ours. If we let it go into negativity, negative thoughts, and we get very down, we upset ourselves, upset at ourselves, upset at others. If we see things in a good way, we become much more happy. We lessen the power of the negative emotions on us, and we increase the power of the positive states of mind, like loving kindness, patience, compassion. So remember how it feels to be in that state of mind where there is no jealousy, there is no pride, there's no ill will or anger, how peaceful that state of being is. So we looked at the third subject was how to present the path. So the Buddha taught us the methods, not just to have simply kind of a peaceful state of mind where our negative emotions kind of get dormant just because there's no triggers around us. But he presented a path we can actually have where those positive states of mind are actually stable and increasing all the time, where there is no power for negative emotions to arise again. So if we can establish that state of mind, it's actually possible for us to attain. And if we really want a true stable happiness, then we have to put methods to have that. It doesn't just drop from the sky, from prayers or or making offerings, we have to actually change our minds. It's something from within. To think we're here today to listen now. What are those methods? And how can I use those methods day by day, practically speaking, to get to that very stable state of mind that the Buddha talked about? Okay, so with that, let's start the actual presentation. So we can relax the body. Okay, so welcome everybody for the next um, presentation. So normally this would be, again, like I said, often it will be a three session presentation, because this discovering Buddhism is what we call approaching the course. We condense it down to one session to give the basics of it. But actually, if you're doing the Discovering Buddhism actual module, it would be three sessions like this, a presentation, and the last fourth session would be like a meditation, question answer, review class. Yeah, so here it's like one presentation and one review class. I think it'll be done. I'm not sure, maybe Castor next week probably. So let me present to you a little bit this third subject. It's called a spiritual mentor or guide. So having done these preliminary practices of, okay, so what's mind in Buddhism? It's a different um, entity of the body, the physical body we have. Of course, they're related in this present state. The mind, again, the mind has gross levels where it's actually connected to the body. For example, hearing now, seeing me, etc. That's where the gross minds are connected to our body, the sensory faculties. There's subtle levels of mind where the mind is not so connected, for example, in sleep, and even more subtle levels like in meditation, and the subtlest levels when the mind actually goes to its very, very, very subtle nature. That's at the time of death. Yeah, and then from there, depending what actions have been ripened, like past imprints of actions ripened, the mind then leaves to take a new form. So that's introducing to the mind of reincarnation. The mind does go on. It's actually a different entity of the body, has its own causes, the substantial cause, the main cause being its own previous moment of mind. So if you trace it back, right back to the fetus, back to another life, another life, another life. So in that way, in Buddhist perspective, the mind cannot be stopped. It's always continually going on and on and on. Where it goes depends on what we've done, and the imprints, what we've done, how they're ripened, and takes new forms. So luckily here in this life, we call it a good form, being a human, as opposed to an animal state, for example. Although we seem to glamorize animal lives, they're not so pleasant at all if we really think about how it is to be there. So we think of the human life, but now the mind now connected to this faculty of the brain. Again, the mind is not the brain, but because it's connected to the brain, we have a very amazing intelligence where we can discriminate how to think, how to behave. We can actually change our behavior. See, animals, yes, they can change a little bit, but they can't change their behavior in terms of emotions. You see, I think I explained before, for example, we have jealousy, we have anger, attachment. We can do something about it by training our minds. Animals cannot, if you see that, yeah? You can see animals get anger, they get very attached, they also have jealousy, and they cannot do anything about it. They haven't got that intelligence. See, we have. So being a human is quite an amazing opportunity. So I think you covered this, let's see. Theo, should you cover the subject on Monday about self-compassion? So it's absolutely essential. Self-compassion is about, well, I'm not in a good state of mind or even physically. What can I do about it? So normally, in Buddhist perspective, self-compassion comes with the mind first. Yeah, by looking, for example, why are we upset? Why are we suffering so much? It's coming from our minds mostly, because the same triggers doesn't bother other people. Why is that? Because they look at the things differently, right? So most of our problems are coming from our mind, and we have to recognize that. We have to actually acknowledge our mind is creating all our difficulties, and we have to say, what can I do about it? So that was the Buddha's, what we call the second truth. Look at the origin of all these problems. It's actually these negative states of mind. Yeah. And where is the origin of that? So like we looked at last time, the presentation of the path, all our negative states of minds are born from this misconception of this idea of self. We seem to kind of exist truly, solidly separate from the body and mind, some entity outside the body and mind, which is not depending on the body and mind. There's this concept, there's a self somewhere floating, either outside us or somewhere here within the body and mind, which is us, like this kind of essence of me. Somehow, or some people might, I don't know, some people might call it soul or this meanness. See, then because of that, there's this kind of a strong attachment for something, having something, a person in your life, a certain situation you'd like to have, a certain place you'd like to live in. It has to be yours. You want to be there. This meanness wants that to be happy, and when that's blocked, and you can't have that person or the situation or the ideal situation you'd like to have or the place you'd like to have, then this aversion comes, anger comes, you see, because attachment doesn't get what it wants. So first is the concept of me, then there's a strong liking for things you want to have, and aversion what you don't want to have. So then that becomes stronger, becomes anger, and all the other spectrum of negative emotions. You have to recognize that. You have to say, well, can we do something about it? Yes, the Buddha said, of course you can. Yeah, the mind created that problem. The mind created the attachment. The mind created the anger. And then we say, reduce it. So of course, we're not at a state where we can actually reduce that strong grasping at this misconceived self, because that's quite a high level. Although we feel it, we can't apply antidotes to it. So we apply antidotes, for example, to attachment or to anger. We see the person or the situation in another light. We see the object of attachment or the person we're attached to in a different way. We see the whole picture more realistically. Our mind kind of sobers down. Because both attachment and anger, when they take over our mind, we're completely intoxicated. We don't see reality, right? So we have to bring it back into reality. So that takes time. That's done with the mind, right? It's a meditation part of it. But you see, if you go back further, you can see even the attachment energy, anger energy is to do with this idea of me that I cannot get what I want now, almost like children, right? So you have to recognize it's quite embarrassing because it's quite a gross, a gross way of being, but that's what we are. We're almost like a child when we get criticized or hear words we don't like to hear, and we get praised, we feel so elated, just like children. Oh my gosh, we're living to have this praise all the time. That's we don't get it, we're upset. So we're almost like children in a way. Sometimes the text it talks about the wise and the foolish, or the wise and the children, or childlike, because that's how we are sometimes. We're grown up, but we're acting like a child in a way, just just craving for praise, craving for hear nice words, and craving not to be criticized, craving not to have difficult situations in our life. And sometimes they're beyond our control. They happen. It's why they happen. Again, that's present in the past. It's about effects are ripening from past. Sometimes past actions are ripening now in this life, and we just don't know how it's happening. So how does the mind react to that? Depends on us. It doesn't depend on the people, the conditions outside. It depends on how we react to that situation, right? So it's all within our own hands. We have to kind of recognize that. So self-compassion, essentially in the Buddhist context, is saying, I don't like to be how I am in this behavior or in this mental state. I want to improve it. And what can I do? And I can do it. Get that self-confidence that we can do it. Of course, outside people could be therapists, coaches, etc., can give you maybe a little bit idea and maybe see the thought patterns, behavior patterns which are blocking you. But then in the end, we have to do that work. We have to recognize that thought pattern, the behavior pattern, and stop it. Like, don't go down the same rut or road, fall in the same trap, behave differently. So we have to catch those old habits and old thought patterns and then reconstruct new ways. That's basically meditation. So presenting the path was self-compassion first. So if it's a secular way, if you don't believe in past and future lives, okay, this life, do something with your mind that you don't have so much anger coming. Find out what is bothering you, what's triggering you most. We all have different um, values that are being broken, endangered, etc. Are they so important? What we believe is so high, people have to live up to the standard. Maybe not. Maybe they can't. They don't have the same upbringing as you, the attitudes when you were a child, etc. They don't have that different conditioning. So how can we expect everybody to have the same value systems that we have? Right? So we get a more realistic approach of of life in general, right? In a secular way, yes, we can do that. So the Buddhism has that art of how to train our minds just to be more peaceful in this life. But you see, in the Buddhist context, the mind goes on. Where it goes depends on the actions and the imprints of those actions on our mind, which get ripened. So if we want to have a better rebirth, then we have to make sure we have a stock of more karmically positive imprints. So if they're greater, that's what's going to be ripened. The negative ones, they're there, but they don't have so much power because there's more stock of positive ones. So we guarantee ourselves to have a better rebirth, right? But in fact, we look at it realistically, even those better rebirths, if you're a human, fantastic. Yeah, good human body, maybe you're good health, beautiful, handsome. You have all your faculties working properly. You can think properly. You can discern. You have all your outside concerns met: housing, shelter, food, everything, and even spirituality. Maybe everything's. You have all the conditions where you can again enter a spiritual path and have the time to do that. But you see, even that life finishes. Yeah, slowly aging happens, sickness happens, and then death will happen. It's just beyond our control. No matter how much we try and avoid them, just by being a human again, whatever society you're born into, however conditions you have, they will definitely one day finish and you have to leave them behind. So there's other realms in Buddhism, like I explained in the higher realms, almost like the celestial angelic realms, the even more refined enjoyments that we have here, but they will definitely finish because the time runs out to be there, right? Like the cooking timers, the sand timers, it starts, and from that second, it's already going. That life is finishing. All the enjoyment you have is just like dreams going away. Just like our enjoyments we had so far in our lives are like dreams. Nothing to hold on to, right? So when you look at realistically, the wise people looking realistically and say, well, even just to work for another a good rebirth, either a human or deva, a celestial realm being, is actually very limited. So see, in the beginning, some people like think, well, I just want to work for this life happiness. Okay, so that's one way of doing it, by looking at your mind, being more peaceful, right? Then some people have the idea of working for a next life, just for a next rebirth. So again, that's like we call it a small scope. Remember we did last time the presentation of the path? That's a small scope. Because you're small, because you have very limited outlook for next. Okay, it's better than just looking for this life, but next life, but still that life is going to finish. So what are the causes for that next life? Do good actions, because those good actions leave good imprints. Those imprints, the more stock you have of them, they'll get ripened. So what creates good actions? The thoughts, the good thoughts. Actions done from patience, being patient with people, situations, being generous, being kind, being loving, having that discernment, wisdom to know what's a good action to do, when to do it, and those actions done leave positive imprints. and they get ripened at the end of our lives, right? So if you want a good rebirth, next life, that's what you have to do. Right? Positive actions, come with more positive minds. But you see that next level up is if you leave those realms anyway one day, what's the point? You know, like think, well, I mean, so this is the highest self-compassion thing. Even those realms are in a way tinged with unpleasantness because you're gonna have to suffer old age, sickness, death. They're gonna happen, right? So you look a bit more forward. What if I leave samsara completely? Is that possible? Is it possible to kind of? It doesn't. So leaving samsara doesn't mean ending your life. It means having to leave this continual circulation in having to take these different forms as our mind continues life to life, depending what imprints of actions are ripened. We, sometimes go up, sometimes go down, but they're all tinged with this unpleasantness. Mm, I don't know what to say. It's a bit like, I don't know. What's the example I can use? Maybe if you're using maybe placenta, placenta? Yeah. She placenta with potatoes, placenta with cheese, placenta with cabbage, placenta with meat, but it's all placenta. Basically, it doesn't matter. Right? It's all in the end placenta, right? Eating it's in the end, it gets a bit boring going up and down, eating placenta every day, breakfast placenta. I must confess, when I first came, I loved placenta. I couldn't, because it reminded me of the Asian, Asian food. We have this kind of chapati, but chapati is filled with something like, or potatoes or vegetables. So when I came, it's like, wow, it's just, especially fresh, it's like, wow, no. But if you have it enough, it's like, oh my God, another placenta, thank you. So like this, wherever you go in samsara, it's like, oh my God, whatever realm, in the end, it's tinged with suffering, and you have to leave them. So this practitioner saying, I want to leave completely. I don't want to have any more to do with this stuff. That's what we call, we give a Sanskrit name called nirvana. Nirvana is it's a state of mind which has no afflictions at all, no negative emotions at all. So no anger, no attachment, no pride, because also the root of those afflictions are taken away. The root of the afflictions are that misconception of this wrong idea of a self. Right? We've been lying to ourselves all this time because of this, we call it ignorance, it's blindness to the idea of a self. And because of that, we suffer. All the other emotions come because of the emotions we do actions, etc. Right? So we have to go to the root. So this other person not looking further on to end all of these rebirths, we call it the middle scope, is wishing to leave samsara. To do that, again, it's the mind, but here looking deeper into the mind of this misconception of the self. We call it ignorance, gross if you want it. You have to put an intelligence, a wisdom that breaks that ignorance. And again, it's not easy. It's not like a one lifetime job. It's a long career job, right? So we have to look ahead, be skillful. So by using karma to our benefit, we create good actions, although they're tinged with this idea of ignorance, but you still create positive karma. You get born into good rebirths, and hopefully rebirths because strong prayers where you meet the teachings again, right? You have immediately this idea of karma, how the whole of cyclic existence works, and you want to leave to this very self-compassion. I don't want to suffer anymore up and down. Having placenta every day enough, So what we should wish to leave out of that, you have to use now further methods. So I think we looked at last time was looking at living ethically. Because of that, then you can concentrate better, and then you can use wisdom that then cuts that idea of self. And again, will take lifetimes, but eventually, one of those lives, the culmination, you will eventually cut the seeds of that ignorance, all gone. So you achieve a nirvana, a state of mind which has no afflictions like that at all. So there is another level to go to, because for you that is happiness, basically stable happiness. And you die, of course, because you still have the physical body, but the mind goes this incredible strong meditation, and you're just in bliss. So some people say they have a very, very subtle form, like a light body, but you have no physical suffering at all, no mental suffering. It's just bliss. So you do not disappear. You don't like go out of existence or become a star or something like that. We don't have that concept in Buddhism. You actually exist, but you're just in this meditation. Right? So there's another step to take if that's what you want. Is the idea is, well, what about everybody else? Isn't everybody else in the same situation, suffering, not knowing what the cause of suffering are? They have no self-compassion. They have, but they don't know the methods perhaps to use to get out. Even for their lives, this life, they don't know what to do. They don't know how the anger attachment can be reduced by meditation. They're just completely following instinctively, almost like an animal. How sad. So you don't think these people, you think these people like your parents who being kind to your friends who are kind to your relatives. I think how sad that they're suffering and they don't know how they're suffering. They don't know why. How wonderful they were free. So now this is the compassion for others. Yeah. So other compassion by looking at you, because you know you're intelligent, you know how you're suffering, you know how to get out, and you know the method to get out, but these people don't. So see, with that thought, that strong compassion, a person would not go just for their own freedom from samsara. They'd hold back from that. Although it's a good aim, goal, they'd hold back because what are the methods now to free them? Because they don't know how to teach them. Because you don't have that power to know what they're thinking, what their behavior is, how to give them skillfully some methods. Like we have now, maybe on this course, perhaps we're following, we've got books we're following, we're getting an idea how we can change our state. It's called self-compassion for ourselves. But they don't know. So how can we help them? We have to actually become fully free from samsara ourselves before we can help them. So now the goal is transfer from one's own liberation to one's own liberation, not just for myself, but to help others. So for that, again, we use karma. We use positive actions because we know it leads to good rebirths. In those rebirths, we create again very strong merit by again ethical behavior, concentration, wisdom. But the whole of that path is backed up by this strong compassion. I'm doing ethics. I'm doing the concentration practice. I'm using my wisdom to cut through this misconception of the self because I want to help all these beings. Yeah, not just for my own freedom, but because I want to help all these beings. And because of that, you actually create very positive merit, and your path becomes very fast. It looks longer, but actually becomes very fast because it's strong compassion to help others. Right? So again, revision is small scope, just for a good future life, just for having a pleasant life. Then middle scope, thinking, yeah, but all of that has to be left behind anyway. Then the great scope, you actually uh, aim for your own liberation, but with the thought to help others. So that's called the great scope. So that's a presentation of the part that we went through last time. I think some of you maybe got a bit confused, and it can be. We have to listen to these again and again and again, because it's not a one-off thing. It's not reading a novel, and it's really quite a big subject to go into. So of course we're presenting it quickly on session like this, but that's why you see if you do one day include the actual module, it takes 3 sessions of presenting the path, and there's more meditations involved, more analysis, discussion involved. So anyway, this is an introduction, a taster of it, right? Okay, so that's the path. But then how do you get onto it? How do you understand it? See, the whole thing is if you want, just like learning everything else. So you're trying to learn to meditate, you're trying to learn what this path the Buddha taught about. You need somebody to help you, to teach you. Of course, there's loads of books available now, a lot of stuff on the internet, you see. I mean, actually teachers teaching on the internet, it's like us, you just record it. Maybe somebody one day might come into touch with it. So you see, you need a person give you those words, to present it to you. Yeah? So that's what we call a spiritual, a mentor, a guide. Just like everything else we're trying to learn from nursing, carpentry, anything, IT stuff. We need somebody who knows a bit more than us to guide us in that way because we don't know. Of course, there's a lot of stuff on the AI now, right? But it's still, I think it's still not the same as having this direct live person who has experience. You see, that makes a big difference, right? So then, if you're looking for a guide, if you're really interested in developing your mind, so again, out of self-compassion, we need somebody who's perhaps done that work or done a bit more than we have, and then get some inspiration. So that's where this third topic comes in, the actual spiritual mentor. So I'm going to now give you what normally in our text, in the associate, what we call the Mahayana text. So Mahayana is now what we call the great scope, the third of the three scopes. You're talking about small, middle, great. Mahayana is trying to now talk about what to, if you want to go to that goal, right, the great scope. Yeah. So I'm sorry, we're gonna have to skip from the smaller middle because anyway, from the small middle, those qualities also involved in the great scope, great so mentor, spiritual guide. So now if you can share that list, it'll be very useful, Theodore. There's in our text we have some like a list of 10 attributes a qualified teacher ideally should have. Of course, difficult to find all 10, but it's good if they at least show some of them. Yeah, this one. Okay.
Those online see
So, huh?
can those online see it all right?
Okay, good. All right. So there you go. So again, you see, mm, one of the qualities should be a mind subdued to control through higher training in ethics. So again, behavior is important. If you see people who are going around hitting people or shouting at people and then talking about meditation, it may a little bit strange because they're not really following a good behavior, right? So behavior is important. How is that person behaving? That's what sometimes, when we say, "Oh, that's such a I like that person. They're so good. I like that person." There's something, first physically, maybe the stature, how the comportment, the behavior, but also it's their mind, right? But again, it's the mind that controls the behavior. So if they're living ethically means not harming, basically, then that it attracts us to the people. Yeah, I don't know if people are attracted to. I guess yeah, it is in very aggressive films. People are attracted to people who do a lot of violence, but actually, it's not such a thing to glorify. More is to have people living ethics, right? Like my personal teacher, Lama Zopa said, actually, the real heroes are not the ones we see in squares in Cluj, riding on horses and having swords in their hand, who killed so many people, etc. The real heroes are the ones who didn't kill, actually. They're the real heroes, who behaved ethically, So you need somebody who lives in good ethics, right? Then a mind that's pacified due to having concentration. So for us, you see, for a beginner, we don't even know what concentration means, yeah. But when you understand a little bit more in Buddhism, concentration means a mind that can stay like very, very calmly on one object for at least like 4 hours. Keep the mind single pointedly on an object. That's hard to do. We can't keep our mind on the breath for 10 counts of the breath, right? So somebody who's able to do that, have that concentration, is so much more pacified. And actually, because of that, if you have, like, eventually have, we call it this in Sanskrit, it's called samatha, mind as samatha, right? When you have that mind, your afflictions actually go dormant. And they go like into a sleep state in that meditation. And also when you come after meditation, things don't bother you like they normally do because your mind is so in such a blissful state of concentration. So you need a teacher who's that kind of, if not the highest level of concentration, at least a mind that's pacified due to meditation, right? And a mind that's pacified due to having wisdom. So here's the wisdom of at least conceptually knowing that this self that we normally grasp onto, this idea of a concrete me, an entity of meanness somewhere here in the body and mind, it doesn't exist. So at least conceptually they understand that. They don't believe in that lie. So that's also important. Then the basic ones are like having more knowledge than you. They know more about the teachings about Buddhism than you. They have very strong perseverance, like it's like joyous effort. Yeah. Again, the wealth of scriptural knowledge as well. And then the other one is, so this is a little bit more different. It's more technical. Having a realization of suchness. This is again, uh, we call it emptiness in Buddhism, but it doesn't mean like having knowledge of nothing. It means like knowing that uh, this this absence of the self that we believe onto so strongly. Again, the wrong self. Yeah, don't get me wrong. The belief in the wrong self is, you have actually a realization of it. You actually, through meditation, you've actually gone to the roots of this. Yeah. So sometimes it says in different scriptures now, because even this wisdom can be different levels. Some people, they understand that, okay, the self doesn't exist as we perceive it, but everything else around us exists like we perceive it. So actually, even that is wrong. We don't exist how we perceive ourselves. Even the objects around us that we get attached to, we get anger towards, that they also lack that like unpleasantness there, or the attractiveness there. If you really search for that attractiveness or unpleasantness, it can't be found, right? So even that, the objects that we perceive to be like that don't exist how we perceive them. Yeah, it's just a higher type of wisdom. So teachers should have that. So again, see, for us as beginners, maybe we don't even know what this emptiness is. So that's why sometimes a bit of study helps you choose the teacher. Because then when the teacher teaches you, oh, okay, I think they know what they're talking about, you know. For example, when I met my own personal teacher, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, I had none of these these sets of, what do you say, qualifications I should be looking at. I just saw somebody behaving well, teaching about wisdom, and having a very strong, calm mind, having more knowledge than me, having this perseverance to teach, because he would teach for hours sometimes, like he'd get up on a teaching throne and he could teach for 3 hours non-stop. I was just amazed. Who is this being? It's extraordinary, you know. So that drew me to a person like this, you know. And again, he had all the other love and compassion, been skilled in teaching Dharma sometimes. Anyways, you see, it's very personal, you see. So that same teacher I found inspiring, somebody else may not. They might find somebody else inspiring because they see those qualities in somebody else, you see. But I saw those qualities in the person I met. Yeah. So some of these are kind of guidelines which direct you towards somebody who's going to teach the path you would like to travel on. So it's not some hobby, right? It's just a real thing. This is real life. You're trying to change your mind. Yeah. You need somebody who's going to help you because they have more knowledge and more experience than you. So these guides are very important. They're like a beacon, like a light, like a lighthouse in an ocean, in a storm. You know, for some of us, maybe like, you know, we've gone to therapy, psychologists. They become like that. They become like a hope for us because in our confused mind, we 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 had no hope of getting our bearings, and somehow some of these people put us on track. So in the Buddhist perspective, it's very similar. They put us on track because they explain how suffering started, and they try to explain how to get out. So how kind is that? Yeah. And normally they do it for free. It's not like a fee or come and see me, you know, 50 euros for you, 30 euros for you because you're a student. It's free. It's just knowledge you have to, but because in Buddhism, this is the truth, right? Of course, you see centers and, you know, whatever, giving a charge, a price because they have to cover costs, etc. But, you know, normally this Dharma is a free thing. It is the truth, right? Yeah, so these are qualities we can look for when you look for a spiritual. Unfortunately, some of you beginners, you don't have much choice because you've got me and you've got Dechen, and of course you've got all these people online. Yeah, but for the center becoming a live sessions like this, so I don't know how you're going to check us because you don't really see us that often either, right? So when we're there, you have to keep checking. You know, is he? I don't know. Is he attached to pizza or red socks or something? Is he always going about red socks and things like this, you know? Oh, he looks a bit attached. Man, that's not a good sign, right? Because again, you can't go over the board, then because you'll never find the teacher. You know, you go, oh my gosh, they're attached. Oh, they're showing angry. Oh, they're like this. You see, so you have to get that middle ground Because what you're looking for is the teaching, the pure teaching. It doesn't really matter. Of course, it matters what the person is doing. But you see, for example, you know, let's see my example. Mm, yeah, see, it doesn't mean that you have to agree completely with everything your teacher does. Because maybe they support a different political party. Maybe they meat and you're vegetarian, but that doesn't bother you. Actually, it should be the Dharma they're teaching is what's interesting for you. So if you make that such a big deal, oh my gosh, their behavior is so bad. Even I would never do that. I can't have that one as a teacher, and that one I can't have, that one I can't have. Then you end up with nothing. Because in the end, the idea is to have a teacher so you gain knowledge and you actually get happier by using that knowledge to meditate on and improve your well-being. Right? If you start to look at the faults all the time, you will never find a teacher. Right? So anyway, come back. Unfortunately, you have, ditching at the moment. Maybe some other people might come. Like, yeah, there's a High Lama coming soon in November or something. But yeah, they give very few teaching. Actually, they come and go, right? So that's why you have to look at them. You have to look at their students. How are they behaving? Are they also kinder, more gentle? Are their minds pacified? So you have to kind of observe these things. Then you make that decision. So some of you don't even have to pick, like, I gotta pick that person quickly because you just watch. You get like going to university, like going to when you were training for your careers, you watch the person, how they behave, how they're acting, to find them inspiring. You take that advice and you put it into your life and see if it works. If it works, you get more inspiration to be with that person, to follow that person. Slowly, the trust comes in that person as a valid being for you, not for everybody, for you, right? So slowly then there's a commitment that that is my teacher for this path. Then that's quite a um, solid decision, conclusion. Yeah, that's quite, then actually the benefits will come. Yeah, benefits means like you will also start to watch your behavior. You will actually start to put more effort into meditation. And then because of that, you create merit. You'll have more knowledge, you'll be able to pacify your mind quickly when normally you react to a situation in a bad way. You won't because of that knowledge. Yeah, because of doing virtuous actions, you have more power in terms of merit, positive energy. So you get less harm by people and situations around you. You're more protected. Like because if you do the practice well, means you'll be more loving, kind. You'll be more patient. You'll be more compassionate. Then obviously you're going to be more healthy. And who gave you all that? The spiritual mentor, right? So that person becomes a very valuable person in your life. Just like some of you have done maybe some coaching or therapy, those people have saved your life, actually. So it's amazing. So here, this spiritual mentor is not saving your life, it's saving your lives. They're giving you teachings that take you, if you want, that take you out of samsara completely. They're giving you teachings that take you to the higher or great scope, the Mahana scope, which means you become a fully enlightened being one day to benefit all of these beings who've been kind to you, like your parents, relatives, friends, yeah? So that's amazing. They're giving you this recipe to become a fully enlightened being. And that, I'm sorry, in terms of Buddhist perspective, it's the highest type of happiness. If you want self-compassion, which means I don't want to suffer anymore, I want to be really the happiest person in the world. That's it. In Buddhist perspective, right? It's enlightenment. And this teacher's giving you that for free. Basically, like, here it is. You do this, you do this, and you do this, you do this. Now. So of course, these teachers, not all are skilled, even me, and I'm not skilled, I'm repeating like this, the things I've learned. But a really skilled teacher, and I'm not saying I am, should be able to know exactly what's your greatest fault, your affliction, and give you methods at the right time for you to deal with that, right? Almost, I guess, like a very skilled psychologist who are really intuitive, empathetic. They know exactly how to make that client progress out from their wrong concept. You do this, then think like this, then think like this. Now do this. So that skilled teacher should be able to guide their student from, say, thinking just of this life. They may say that, okay, look, forget all the other, think of this life, you know. Then now think of the future life only. Then think, okay, in the middle scope, and now the great scope. That skill teacher knows exactly how to introduce those topics to the students at different times and even different ways. Yeah, how to say the same words differently. That's the skill of a really, really powerful teacher. So I've seen that, for example, with Lama Zopa. If you look at the Dalai Lama, when he teaches, if you see him, and all this stuff is on YouTube now. If you see how he teaches the monks and nuns, or a higher text, then how he teaches to, like, police officers. I mean, at one time during COVID, he was teaching to so many groups. One time there were police officers in London who requested him to have the other. Oh my God, that's incredible. The Dalai Lama is giving talks to the police, and then all the sometimes hospital staff, and sometimes the Korean groups ask him, the Chinese groups ask him, all that, and then he teaches in different levels. He knows what's the best thing for them. Right? That's really a skilled teacher. So unfortunately, maybe you haven't got that, but you can aim for that. One day, maybe you make prayers to meet skilled teachers like that. That's why prayers are very important. This life, that if you see, if the mind is looking for this way out, but if that self-compassion is so strong, I want to leave samsara, not just for myself, for all of other beings. I need a teacher who knows the method. It's like going, I don't know, going to somewhere in the middle of Romania. You have no idea, you've never been there. There's the mountains, you're going trekking. You need somebody who's been there before. Watch out for this. Watch out for the weather. Watch out for this section in the road. So you need somebody who's already been there, or at least been there once, and and knows a little bit what to do. So you need somebody with a bit more experience. That's why the AI. I'm not sure they will have a teacher who has experience. You see, it's different, right? They have the knowledge, like all this list, like I'm giving you, but the experience may be different. Okay, so let's go on to another slide from after that. The minimum qualities of a teacher would have. So at least a mind that's subdued. Again, the three top ones from the 10: ethics, concentration, wisdom. Yeah, that would be very essential. And love and compassion and emptiness. Like having at least that view. Because again, that's the root of all the other afflictions. And that person at least should have an intellectual understanding. So we get that. And you can feed on that by digesting it, listening to it, digesting it. It becomes our intellectual understanding. Then we have to put the meditation to make it a realization. And that's when we start to break that mind of that ignorance that holds onto this conception of the wrong self, right? If you can't find that, at least more qualities than faults. Yeah. Like everything else, like, I mean, we find like, oh, this is my friend. Why? Because of course, they have some faults. They maybe they hurt you sometimes, or they didn't help you when you wanted. But at least they've been there more for you than others. So that's your friend, because you see qualities in them. It's the same with a spiritual teacher. You have to learn to see qualities. Of course, the qualities might be there, but if you check carefully, just like with ordinary people, even the friends we have. We call them friend. We label them friend because we've been receiving kind words, good actions, things we like to have in our lives have been met by this person. As soon as they do something we don't like, or we didn't imagine they'd do, the whole image of friend just dissolves. Yeah. And then it could be even a person we want to stay away from, to ignore, that they drop on the other side of the earth and disappear, just because we didn't get what we wanted. Same with the spiritual teachers, they could be at first so amazing, they do this, they behave like this, and they say something or do something that you didn't expect them, because you put them on such a high pedestal, perhaps, they would never do that. Or they say something to you because now they see, the teacher maybe sees you need to work with this problem or affliction or something, and you don't want to hear it. You do not want to hear it. Like you're so justified to be angry at somebody, and your teacher says, no, no, please accept think like this. But you say, no, I can't, how dare you tell me that. So even that teacher who's trying to help you turns into an object of aversion, and perhaps even so you see the faults, and you see more faults. Eventually, you just disregard them completely. Yeah, because actually, who loses out? It's not them, it's you, because you were trying to practice this path, trying to change your mind, and now you see faults in them. You can't get even the words are saying you cannot hear anymore. So we're the ones that lose out actually if you see faults. So the other one is more concerned for others than for themselves. Yeah, like yeah, because that selfish attitude. So at least they should have this other caring attitude, you know. And then a concern for future lives and this life. So again, this is really the crux of, because at the crux of Buddhist practice, you know, if you work just for only concerns of this life to be a, it's very good, worthy goal, of course. But in Buddhist practice, you have to look beyond, because in reality, there is beyond, there is future lives, and they get affected by the imprints of karmic actions, right? Because if that person who's teaching us only thinking of their this life for them, right? You know, they teach and they're just looking for donations for money, or thinking of reputation and thinking how many people will give them the thumbs up and likes and stuff. That's just working for this life. So in Buddhist context, you're trying to work beyond this life. So in the spiritual mentor, in this particular, this context is the Buddhist path. In this context, is somebody who's looking beyond this life, right? So at least these qualities you should have. If you cannot find somebody with all the 10, at least some of them, you know, like behaving well, ethically, meditating so they're pacified, has some idea of this wisdom, which is breaking this core of what we call samsara, the cycle existence. He knows at least intellectually it's due to this misconception, yeah. And he's got love and compassion when he teaches. He's caring more for others. Like some teachers, like see someone like Lama Zopa was constantly repeating the same things again and again and again, because it goes in, it just goes out. Sometimes in the same day, sometimes in a few months, it's just say the same thing again. I remember one time, I was in a teaching. Um, he was in the later years of his life. He was really using almost like a very aggressive, or looked aggressive, or very wrathful way of teaching, and I was quite surprised, because I've listened to him since like 91, 92. You know, when I first met him. In those days, he was like he had a very chest problem. He was coughing a lot and coughing. You know, every time, every sentence, every few sentences, cough. You know. But then he had a stroke, and then after that, the cough disappeared. But he spoke very aggressive, very strongly, and sometimes he had to admit, or he took a breath and said, "Look, why?" Yes, I kind of apologize. I'm sorry. I'm shouting. I know, because all of you students have heard all this so many times, and you haven't changed. It's like you haven't taken the medicine. It's almost like a mother, you know, scolding a child. What are you doing with your lives? Because he could see people coming to him for his private interviews and saying, you know, oh my gosh, I've lost my partner, they died or they left me, and da, da, da. What shall I do? He's saying, oh my gosh, this is the most basic teachings on impermanence, and you cannot hold your mind steady because of this. What have you been doing all these years? You come into my teachings and now you're surprised by impermanence. Are you joking? You know, like, so we're saying he was so surprised. His students, I guess, like me, after 30 years, it happens, and we're so surprised. We don't think of karma. We don't think of impermanence. We don't think of nothing. Everything goes on. It's almost like we're back to being a person before meeting Buddhism. And that's embarrassing if you think about it. We're trying to be a better person, and basically when the you know yeah, when the caca hits the fan, we're like, oh my gosh, how's that? Why me? You know, I mean, where are we? So where has all our practice gone? You know, we have our special malas that we do, one for compassion, one for wrath, and those mantras go out the drain. Basically, no matter how many mantras we've done, we're just so stuck with old behavior. So that's amazing, right? That's why. And then he said, "That's why I'm shouting at you, because I think I've been teaching you kindly too long. You need to hear this stuff, right?" and he passed away. So I guess it was like his last shout, like his last call. Please change, I'm trying to help you. Listen to what I'm saying, that kind of thing. So sometimes the behavior we can't judge. The behavior we can't judge. Depends on the motivation. Sometimes we don't know what's in the person's mind, right? So yeah, it doesn't mean you can do what you want, but it'd be clear. Some teachers they knew exactly what they're doing, right? Even Lama Zopa sometimes, very, very sweet and kind with some people. Then another one, completely like very wrathful, because that's the way that person needed to hear to change. You see, if you did that same action to somebody else, that person might run away, right? So to be very careful. These are skilled teachers, you see, very skillful teachers. Okay, so then we have to check, are we the right receptacles for having a teacher like this? So next slide is, what are we? Or who are we? Yeah. Do we have that strong interest, to really change? I get it. I mean, I'm sorry to go back, but it's almost like going back to psychology, like if you really want to change doing therapy, yes, you go once a week or once a month, you pay the price. So that's what I ask sometimes. I ask therapists, because I know some include just at what stage do you tell them enough? I think you've done enough, 10 years, 5 years. I can either help you more, or I think you have to stand on your own feet. Otherwise, you're just coming and repeating the same story, and you're not changing. So I asked this therapist, are you honestly saying, I'm sorry, I don't think I can do any more because I don't see any change in you, although you're just taking the money and say, oh, please come next week. So it's a fine line, right? So same with this, are we really wanting to change? Yeah. Same with the therapy. Are you just going because you want to lie down on the couch and just let off steam and then pay very good money for it and come out? Or do you want to, really want to make effort into changing your behavior? So it means you have to follow some of the advice that the therapist gives. So here the same. Are we actually wanting to change? Are we so to be so anyway, so the first thing we have to be honest. When we go, we're completely kind of open, unbiased in a way, right? Sometimes we go, well, I'm here because I heard this teaching, and I'm not sure your teaching differs from that person, and you try to kind of look at the faults of that. You may have heard the same teaching somewhere else, so that's not really yet. Be very open mind, yeah. Okay, just like a very clean receptacle. Actually, they say there's three ways to listen to teachings, right? They say it's like a clean clay cup, right? Just completely open to listen, like filling with whatever knowledge is. If you go there, when that cup is a bit dirty, means your mind's a bit, you're going with the wrong motivation, right? I don't know, for some, you may be like, oh, I want to listen to this, and then, um, I don't know, I can use it for my career. So I want, like, some people want to be a yoga teacher. I can use that for meditation when I guide my yoga teachers, and then get some more money for that. Of course, it's no, it's very good to do the meditation for yoga, but the thing is, I want to know enhance my career, not to help the others, but enhance my career. So that's a good motivation for So you go there, but the cup is it's got some dirt inside. So what do you pour into it? It's not cleaned. Or sometimes it's like the cup is um, cracked. Yeah. Then whatever you pour into just goes out because you're not listening. You're just there, but your enthusiasm's not there. You're just there because somebody told you there's an event happening, so you came, or you come because I don't know. Oh, it's free. Okay, it's free. Okay, I'll go. If you have to pay, I'm not going. Ooh, okay. Free event. Oh yeah, let's go. Uh, but of course, it might benefit you, of course, But see, what's the motivation? Is it clean motivation? If you're really there, you listen, right? And then one is upside down. The pot, the cup, the clay cup is upside down, and nothing goes in because in a way you already like know too much. You're just there. So the motivation is quite important. So we're there, impartial, wishing to hear, like honestly, without aversion, attachment. Just there. Then we have the intelligence, to know when that's a good teaching, that's an improper teaching. What we are as a human, we know what's ethically correct, right? So we have the intelligence. Then that's the third one's really important, having that strong aspiration. So what is it? If so some of you coming now, what is it you're looking for? Why are you looking for it? Okay, maybe it's to be more peaceful, calm in this life. And yes, Buddhism has that. Yeah, it definitely has that. But then what else does Buddhism teach? So you have to understand the different realms, the presentation, the path that we had last time, and you get some interest in it. So, wow, is that true? Was that some exotic rubbish to scare us? You just think, well, what is it all about? You have to use some introspection. Of course, and having respect for the teacher kind of helps when you go there. You're not just like sitting there like in university. Okay, give me what you got, tell me, impress me, kind of thing. But you're kind of, okay, I don't know anything about Buddhism. Please help me, teach me something, or tell me something about Buddhism. That respect already helps you, gives that interest, you see, in the teachings. And so then also with that, you listen attentively with good motivation, etc. So all of them are related. But you see, we have to check. Okay, we looked at this subject about spiritual mental, but we have to actually say, we have to check, are we got the qualities to be guided by a spiritual mentor? So otherwise there's no, the hook is there, but there's nothing to grab onto, you see, so that's important. Okay, so then we have to, um, basically, so having found perhaps a teacher that you you respect, and you're open to listening, and you're open to, of course it doesn't mean open listening and not question. You have to question. For example, the next week is going to be a question answer system. Even now be a question answer system, but you have to check, what does that mean? So you're presentable this stuff, what does it actually mean for me, and how does that relate to me? As you have to check all of that. And then you make that. So see, when you have that respect more, like maybe also in your careers, when you were doing psychology or whatever, when you had the respect for inspired by a certain teacher, you listen much more attentively, and you retained it more easily as well, and you were inspired by their behavior, the way they presented, whatever, then you made the change in your life, hopefully. So if you look at your own ordinary career life, not the spiritual side, just your ordinary kind, then look at the spiritual side, it's similar, right? When somebody affects you in a way, then you want to follow, not just like be in their good books, but because you follow the way they're teaching, you become more ethically uh, pacified. You harm less people. You're more careful of your mind, how it reacts to certain situations. You try and do that by meditation, so you become a better person, actually. Yeah. So then, because of that, there's many, many benefits. Anyway, when we actually go into this subject, we can go into how the benefits affect us. And yeah, the main disadvantages, of course, there's many disadvantages, of course, but it's just like in the ordinary career, when you saw faults in somebody, although they were perhaps teaching you very well, but you start to see faults in them, then you stop going to them. But actually, you were going for their teachings, not uh, not to see the faults. You see, so actually, we're the ones that lose out. We have to remember, when we break away and distance ourselves with teachers, we're the ones that actually get the lack, get the disadvantage. Mm. So maybe that's about it. We have about 10 minutes left. Okay, maybe that's it then. Thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being patient. My very fast English. You have to listen to recording and slow it down. Like that.